Let's go over the different Windows client editions. So the first thing to understand is there are various types of Windows editions that Microsoft has put out. This is not a new concept. Microsoft has been doing this even going as far back as the 1990s. They have released different versions of their Windows operating system. And if you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense for somebody at home, a home user, that just needs a lot of the normal average features of Windows. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to pay the same price as a Fortune 500 business that needs all these advanced security control capabilities, right? So this is why they do this. They release different versions of Windows, or different editions, I should say, of Windows in order to accommodate that. So you have Windows Home, you have Pro or Professional, you have Professional for workstations, Windows Enterprise, Windows Enterprise LTSC, which is the long-term servicing channel, formerly known as long-term servicing branch. You have Windows Pro Education, and then Windows Education. And there's even a few other little offshoot versions of Windows that aren't listed here. These are the ones that I want you to keep in mind. Let's take a deeper look at some of these here. So first we have Windows Home, and Windows Home gives you the average Joe, everyday features that most people are going to want out of Windows. Okay, so you get Microsoft Edge. That's their web browser that's now built off of Chromium and all of that. It's very secure. It's actually rated to be the most secure web browser available today. All right, and that's not just Microsoft saying that. There's actually quite a few leading security companies out there that are saying that. You have Windows Hello, which is their authentication system. This is a biometric facial recognition, fingerprint matching, all of that stuff, multi-factor type authentication system that comes with Windows. You have virtual desktops, so you can have multiple desktops on the screen and jump between those, and to give you a little bit more task management, multitasking capabilities. You have photos, maps, mail, calendar, music, videos, and the normal stuff there. You can encrypt your device. You have firewall and virus protection. You can support something called the always-on VPN, virtual private networking. So even if you're a home user, you could use your device at home to VPN into your company's network. You have constant updates and features that are automatically being rolled out by Microsoft. Then you have Windows Pro. Windows Pro supports all the home features, but also improves and provides even more features like Windows Autopilot, which is a zero-touch based installation method that's used by a product called Intune, Endpoint Manager Intune. Okay, not getting into details a lot on that, I'm just kind of giving you an overview. You have dynamic provisioning. This supports a thing called provisioning packages for deploying changes out to the device and including the ability to deploy applications. You have MDM support, again, Microsoft's mobile device management platform, which again is Endpoint Manager Intune. All right. The ability to join domains and central control with domains. You have the ability to join Azure Active Directory, which is their cloud directory service. You have group policy management, which essentially lets you control all the different settings and features. You have BitLocker support for encrypting your hard drive. You have support for Microsoft Purview, which gets into all this compliance control in the workplace, which ties to the compliance services or Purview services that are in the cloud. So you can control compliance from a cloud-based portal. You have Remote Desktop that lets you remote in and pull up a machine remotely as though you were physically sitting there. You have Client Hyper-V, that's hypervised. That means you can have virtual machines. You have Windows Update for Business, which gives you a little bit more control over how frequently your devices are getting updated. You have granular control for user interface or UI. That means you can control the start interface and start settings and all of that, the start menu, task menu, and all that Windows has. And you have enterprise state roaming, which allows the ability to synchronize settings that somebody configures on their Windows machine with your cloud service. So that means that if you have a user that jumps multiple machines, the settings can follow them around wherever they go. That includes application settings. So if you configure Microsoft Office settings and things like that on a Windows machine, and then you jump over to another Windows machine, those settings can follow you where you go. So then that brings us into Pro for Workstations, and essentially it's a lot like Windows Professional, but Pro for Workstation gives you a few other little features that are for more powerful machines, like the resilient file system capability. This is for supporting lots of hard drives in a machine. So if you were in like a video editing type scenario where you did some kind of video editing, you had lots of hard drives that you kept all this video on and edited. That resilient file system is for that. It's got great storage capabilities. It provides additional integrity for the data that's on your hard drive. You have persistent memory. This is a newer memory-based feature that some computers are supporting. It allows data to stay in memory when a computer is being shut down and restarted. You have SMB Direct, that's Server Message Block Direct. This is a feature that allows files to be communicated with quicker across a network. You have expanded hardware support, meaning basically they can support more powerful hardware inside the machine. Finally, you have Windows Enterprise. Windows Enterprise is the most powerful version of the different Windows editions. You have the most capabilities out of this. So you have App Locker, which allows you to have some control over what types of applications a user can use on their computer. You have Universal Printing, supporting all the various types of printers without having to have lots of special drivers. You have Start Menu Layout Control using group policy, so you can actually control the start menu layout on people's machines using group policies. You have all these Defender capabilities, Microsoft Defender Credential Guard, which encrypts the area of your computer where your passwords and all that are stored. So if a hacker was to get direct access to your computer, they couldn't get direct access to those passwords anymore, and reset passwords and things like that, which is actually very doable without some help, without something like that. You have application control. This works in conjunction with App Locker. Actually, the two can work together to control what applications can be on somebody's machine. Except the one thing that's great about the Defender application control is the ability to control it through cloud services. You have the Microsoft Defender Application Guard. This is going to encrypt applications that are running in memory. It's going to prevent things like malware or viruses from being able to infect a application. But if a application is infected, it'll prevent the malware from being able to infect any of your operating system. You have Microsoft AppV, that's application virtualization. This allows you to do something called virtualizing applications. It's a way of storing an application in a virtual memory space, which can add additional protection. It can also make it where applications can be ran across the network and cached across the network. You have Microsoft UEV, that's a user experience virtualization. That is a feature that can synchronize user settings between machines. This is what's really kind of been replaced by the enterprise state roaming feature. And then you have desktop analytics. This allows you to gather a lot of analytic data, and it can be reported to the cloud. So a cloud-based administrator can now see all this analytic data from the machines that are on premise. You have Windows Enterprise LTSC, that's the long-term servicing channel. So you can install a special version of Windows Enterprise LTSC, or Windows Enterprise, it's the LTSC version. And essentially what this is allows you to delay updates, feature updates on a machine. If you've ever dealt with the Windows environment very long, one of the issues we run into a lot of times is the fact that Microsoft will deploy some kind of a feature update, and then all of a sudden it breaks our machine. So imagine if you had a machine that was over a critical part of our business, and maybe this machine is hooked up to a $500,000 piece of machinery or something, and it's controlling that machinery. And imagine that machine gets updated, and then all of a sudden that $500,000 machine isn't working right anymore because of a feature update Microsoft has deployed. So this will allow us to push off feature updates on critical machines. And they tell you here, updates will be offered and released every 2 to 3 years instead of every 6 months, with the ability of delaying updates. If you do things correctly, you could actually push off for a maximum of 10 years. But that's the norm, is the 2 to 3 years instead of every 6 months. And with the right capabilities, you can push it off even longer. Okay. Then you have Windows S mode. Okay. Windows S mode is a version of Windows that comes out, sort of a lightweight version of Windows. It doesn't support all the infrastructure for running older applications. S mode is going to require that we essentially run Windows in a method where we only support the App Store based apps, and we support Microsoft Edge. That's it. So Microsoft did this a few years ago, where they started coming out with, originally it was for their Surface tablets, but then they started supporting S mode for not just Surface tablets. And it made a lot of people mad, and mainly because it doesn't allow you to support older applications. And so a lot of people were very angry about that. Microsoft is trying to kind of move the world into the future here and say, okay, let's stop using these old applications from 10, 15 years ago, because they really, really lower our security. However, if you're like a lot of admins, and I know as a consultant, I cannot tell you how many times I've been in an environment where companies are like, oh, we have this old software we bought 10 years ago, and we got to be able to run it. And so that's a problem. So if you were to get a version of Windows that is S mode, there is a way to turn off S mode, but it's a one-way process. Once you switch off this feature called S mode, you can never go back. Okay, you basically go into the App Store, the Microsoft App Store, and you search for S mode, and there's an app you can download that'll let you switch out of S mode, and that's it. Once you're out of S mode, you can install any application you want, even older applications for the most part, and at that point you can't go back. All right. So one other quick thing here I do want to mention that I didn't kind of go over is you'll see it says I listed on one of my very first slides Windows Pro Education and Education. So Pro Education is the equivalent of Windows Pro, but is for the education system. So they offer this to the education system, and then Windows Education is the equivalent of Enterprise. For the education system. So Pro Education is the equivalent of Pro for the education system, and then Windows Education is the equivalent of Enterprise. There is no LTSC version of Education, by the way. All right. Well, hopefully now that helps you understand the different editions of Windows. Hey, this is John Christopher. I hope you enjoyed getting to experience a little bit of this course, and I hope you'll join me on the full adventure. If you'll check the description of this video, you'll see a link that'll show you how you can get access to the full course. Now, in the full course, you're going to learn how to set up a practice environment where you can practice hands-on, and I'm going to provide you with lots of virtual simulations that you can do 24/7. All you need is a web browser. So I hope you'll join me, and I hope you'll also give me a like and subscribe. I'm trying very, very hard to get this channel to build and grow, and so I hope you'll take the time to do that.